What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I do want to go over the On the Docks Hothead Time Attack. This one is actually going to be fairly simple because the track is incredibly short, but I do feel like it's probably going to get pretty dang intense. Now the race is going to be located here on this time trial, which I am going to show you guys some footage of it in the background of it being blue. You're probably going to notice the top 5% is around a minute and 3 seconds or under it. Then you're also going to notice the top 15% is going to be around 1 minute and 5 seconds. Now I would say the on the docks is probably going to be fairly intense because you might be looking at different vehicles you could probably use to get it done. For this one though, guys, I did use the Audi TTRS. Now I did end up getting in the top 5%. Like, yes, I probably could go back in and get like around an exact minute or something, but the biggest goal for me though was to get in the top 5% without any crazy tunes on my car, and I managed to do it. I got around like 1 minute and 2 seconds on it, like 1 minute 2:13 or something like that, which I did end up beating the previous time when this hothead was out. But if you guys are wondering though, the build I am actually running on my TT is kind of funny because, well, this thing is not maxed out. So I'll go into the menu here and show you guys this. I'm going to be running the maxed out race thing here. I'm then going to be running nothing on the ignition valves and camshaft. Like, yes, I can add it, but I haven't. I'm also going to be running the maxed out engine piece, or like the piston and flywheel part. I'm also going to be running a maxed out exhaust, and then of course the anti-lag turbo. You could probably also use the regular powerful turbo if you don't have the anti-lag. This one is probably going to be the next best option. Personally, I'd rather not use the bi-turbo, but for this event, having more acceleration might be a tad helpful. Besides that though, on the brakes I do have them maxed out because you do want those. You could probably get away with Super Sport or Sport before, because when I did actually do the hothead before it was actually out now, which was actually technically around a week ago when I did record this, or a few days ago, we all do know it's going to pop up again. I actually had the Super Sport one on and still managed to get in the top 5%. Then when it does come to the suspension though, I am currently running the track one on it, which I do know not everybody is high enough level to get the suspension. I would also recommend trying out Super Sport if you don't have it, and also the all-road one as well. Either one of those would probably still work. Besides that, guys, on the transmission, I am using the short. The reason for that is on this race, you're probably going to want more acceleration, and I feel like the short transmission is a great option. Now, if you did want to, though, you probably could run the versatile gearbox or the long gearbox. I just found the short one to be much better on this event. Besides that, though, I also have the max out transmission piece here going to be on race. After that, guys, moving over to the aerodynamics or the chassis part, I am currently on the stock one. Like, yes, I could max it out, but I haven't done it yet. Besides that, we're also going to have the maxed out aero kit on the vehicle. This one I actually found to be incredibly useful on your car, so I would at least do this one. And then after that, though, I'm also running the slicks on the car, and then you can also run the semi-slicks, which are still going to be good. And I did notice having the slicks on are going to be incredibly good for most of the events. As I did mention earlier, though, I did end up getting in the top 5% last time this hothead was active, using the semi-slick tires. So yes, they are both going to be fairly usable, and I would say if you have the semi-slick, run that one. If you have slick, guys, run that one for sure. Besides that though, the last thing here is going to be the ECU, which I do have maxed out. So you guys are going to be like, well, your car is level 823 though, which is indeed going to be way too high for the event. Funny thing is, guys, if you actually go back to the event, you'll probably notice on this one specifically that you're going to have to use a daily driver vehicle from 400 to 550. So even if your vehicle is 900, it is of course going to bring it down to that level. Now I did notice with my vehicle being 823, it tend to actually bring my car back down to like 542 or something, 548 sometimes. So it's extremely close to 550. If you guys actually wanted to, you could go into the parts here and buy parts to make the car around something like 550. That way the car could be made for that. But either way, it is going to take the actual power of it down for that said event. But the one thing I can definitely recommend having on the car is slicks. If you do have them, they are incredibly good. Now the thing I did want to talk about here is going to be the actual race for a second. But before that though, guys, I do want to show you this right now with my car, though, that I'm not running anything on it. I'm actually currently running a custom driving mode here, which is going to be this one. It is going to be top speed, impact resistance, balanced, and hard braking. For this car though, I am currently not running any special settings on this thing whatsoever. What I mean by that is I'm not running the custom thing here. I actually have the main preset the game did end up giving me. Turns out, guys, I have to admit the car is pretty dang solid with this build, and I would actually recommend recommend putting that car in manual as well, because my goodness, it helps it so much. If you're wondering how to do that, simply head over to your settings here in the main menu, guys, when looking at your car. Go over to driving assist and put the car on manual right there. And I also do know for a fact, though, people are going to be like, bro, what are you doing using ABS and having your TCS on? Funny thing is, I'm still easily getting in top 5% on most of the hotheads I've done running this exact setup on different cars, guys. 75% and 50% on TCS. Yes, I could probably turn this off and I might be able to get faster, which I am going to experiment with. But the thing I did want to talk about now is going to be the race itself. The biggest thing about this event, guys, I have to admit, is going to be the cornering you can do in this one. The reason for that is the racing lines are going to be extremely important, that you actually get around them in the correct way. That way you can fly out of that said corner and be a bit faster. This is also one of the reasons why I like running manual, because I noticed driving the Audi TT specifically, you can actually fly out of the corners in first gear and have a big burst of speed. I am going to be making a video on the manual transmission, things I found out about it so far while using it, so do stay tuned for that video. But this is going to help you tremendously, though. That way, instead of being in second gear when you're coming out of that corner, the car might bog down a bit, and then guess what's going to happen? You are going to be way too slow, which is then going to obviously not get you in the top 5%, and we do not want that. The big thing here is being in first gear, which I can definitely practice on a bit. I actually am finding myself like, can I go back to first gear? Like, do I have room? Turns out you actually have 4 or 5 miles per hour in that said gear, which is going to give you a big burst of speed being in the top of the RPMs. Again, this is something I'm going to touch on in a different video because it does work with other cars in the game as well, which is pretty dope. I've actually been finding myself being a lot faster in corners with this exact method. Now for this one though, guys, you have to get under 1 minute and 3 seconds. It is going to be fairly difficult, so I would recommend driving something like the TT because, well, most of the other cars are probably not going to be able to do it. I did actually end up trying out the lovely Mini Cooper, and yeah, no, the TT is just so much faster, man. The big thing about this event, though, is you can definitely keep playing it over and over. That way you can practice on it and find the best way to do like the straightaways, then going into that said turn, and also finding the best way to come out of that turn going toward the next straightaway and then into the next area to get the race completed. I feel like that's probably going to be the best way. Like, you might actually find a good racing line and then go through it again and go, wait a second, this one's actually better. You might even find yourself beating your ghost a few times, which I wish you can actually turn off, which I don't think you actually can, but that would be a nice feature. That way it's not going to be like always right there in front of you and trying to find a different route or something. But who knows, maybe they will end up adding that. Again, guys, I would definitely recommend trying the TTRS. This thing is easily the best one for this. We all do know 100 grand, even 85,000 in the top 15% is a lot of money and definitely well worth it. Now, a few things I did want to conclude in this video. If you might have been struggling to get in the top 5 or even the top 15%, here's the first thing, guys. Definitely run that car in manual. Like, I do know it might be a bit odd if you do run automatic, but it is definitely going to make you faster. Being actually in a lower gear coming out of the corners is going to be so much better, having that big burst of speed around them. You actually might even find yourself being faster in the said corner, because that way you're having more power in a lower gear than being in too high of a gear that automatic might end up putting you in. Again, this is also why I'm doing a manual transmission video, because my goodness, it definitely makes a difference. When you're actually going down the straightaways, guys, realize really quick though when that turn is coming up and actually brake a little bit before, and that way you can go into that corner and come out of it with a bit more speed. This way it's probably going to be a lot faster, especially in the TTRS. And again, I feel like, guys, I know people might look at the beginning of this video and go, bro, you do not have to have your car being level 800, which is true, because they just lowered that thing anyway. So if you did want to, just add some parts to that car to make it like 445 or something, but make sure if you guys have the slicks, have them on the car. It's so much better. But if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Let's get in that top 5 to top 15% and get ourselves at $100,000 to $85,000.